operation for my FUE hair transplant where I had 2,400 grafts transplanted. Got some salad that's getting caught in my throat. So today I just wanted to talk about my hair falling out because that has begun to happen. And it's something that I get written about all the time by guys because they're worried because their hair is falling out. And crazy enough, your hair falling out is not something that you should generally worry about if you're losing your hair. So there's all these things that, these sort of terms that we use, which aren't really accurate for the processes that we go through and the fear and like the issues that we have. So hair falling out is one of the least sort of accurate descriptions of what happens when you go bald. Because what you really should be worried about is your hair miniaturizing, because everyone's hair falls out. My partner, my baby's mom, she has more hair fall out than anyone I've ever met in my entire life. Her hair is everywhere, and she's definitely not losing her hair. And I had a ton of hair fall out today. Enough that if I wasn't used to this kind of thing happening, I would have totally freaked out and written me, which is what happens constantly. Like, guys write me on Instagram and they're like, hey man, my hair's falling out. I have guys write me with like exact numbers of hair that came out in the shower. They'll be like, today I counted 73 hairs in my hands. Should I be worried? It's like, yes, you should be worried because you're going crazy. Because anyone who would sit down and count 73 hairs from their hands in the shower, yeah, they have issues. So maybe you should be worried about that. So yeah, today, finally, I'm starting to lose a lot of my transplanted hair. So you can actually already tell that like this area right here has become thinner. So can you kind of tell? So it's actually become thinner. Like today, I like was washing my head, and I was like all these little baby, all these tiny, like not baby, I say baby because they're small, but all these transplanted hairs. I can tell they're transplanted because they're like really strong hairs. They all were like all over my hands. I mean, I literally just like, I had almost hands full of little small transplanted hairs. So that's something that's supposed to happen. Now, some of the hairs that were transplanted will stay in there and grow. There will be some that will still stay and grow. And I can tell that there's actually a good amount that are still in there that are transplanted. So if you get some of those, then that's a bonus. That's a great bonus. But don't ever be worried about hair falling out. Be worried if you look in the mirror and you can tell that obviously you have recession here, or that you're, you do that thing where you put your like hand here and you can suddenly feel like cold against your skin in a way that you never could. That's when you should be worried about losing your hair. That's pretty much the only time. All the other times, if you're like you're taking finasteride and you start having extra shedding, which is something that some people go through, or maybe it's just a time of year when your hair is shedding more, or your hair changes over the course of years, even the quality of your hair in different ways, the waviness of it, you can go through these different shedding periods. So don't worry about seeing hair on your hand when you take a shower. All right, cool. So I'm going to answer some questions. Sorry, on to questions. Ryan says, do you think you could have got a fourth FUT strip surgery if the first surgeon did not go out of the donor zone? That's a good question. So Ryan's asking about this. So my first and second, but particularly the second one, the surgeon went outside of the donor zone, and he should not have done that. I will not name that surgeon, but it's a guy who went crazy. Started calling himself the Son of God and lost his medical license in Tennessee. And he'd actually already lost it in Ohio. But yeah, and he went way too far outside of the donor zone. He literally like cut me here. You should never ever take donor hair from here. One, because it stretches. And two, because this is not strong hair. This is like the whole purpose of doing FUT is to take the strongest hair from your head, which is generally like in this center core, right here, right? So that's the strongest hair. And then he went like way down here, which, yeah. So he should not have done that. So it led to more stretching, potentially like wasted hair because it's not even strong hair. And anyway, so that happened. Whatever, you live with, what happens, things happen. So Dante's asking if I could have had another strip surgery, a fourth strip surgery. Maybe. I don't know. I guess that would just depend on my skin elasticity and things like that. I think that's really hard to measure, Dante. Yeah, I don't think I could really measure that well. That said, I think at this point, having had the 3 strip surgeries, I think 3 strip surgeries is probably kind of enough for most people. You will have probably sort of maxed out what you can do. I think most everyone can have 2 strip surgeries. A lot of people can have 3, and some people can have as much as 4. But I think if you go beyond 3 or 4, it's going to be too much. So yeah, I think FUE was the way to go. Plus, the thing is that the FUE recovery process is just super easy. So it's kind of nice to not have to go through that FUT recovery. It's not that much worse, but it is worse. It is FUT recovery is a little more annoying, I think, than FUE recovery. So, yeah, they're both not that bad. But if you had to choose one or the other recovery-wise, and the results are going to be the same, then you'd probably want to go with FUE. So, let me see here. Sorry, it was Ryan, not Dante, that asked that question. Any tips what to prepare before FUT hair transplant? No. Just make sure, you're probably on finasteride beforehand. Minoxidil would be great too. I think oral minoxidil is much better, kind of the way to go. So yeah, I'd probably just make sure you're on the right medication, really. But that's it. S. Miller says, any opinion on John Cole from 4 Hair? I've heard his name before, but no, I don't have an opinion on him. No kind of informed, opinion that would really help you, I think, unfortunately. Jake says, how many instruments do you play? I don't know. Chromatic harmonica, drums, bass, guitar, keyboard, the Linstrument, which is kind of like a keyboard. Anything else? That's pretty much it. Yeah. So I guess, did I say bass? I can't remember. So like 5 or 7 or something like that. Yeah. If you count like MIDI instruments, then I can play all of them. So I do like string arrangements and all that sort of thing, but that's, I do it all with the keyboard or the instrument. So yeah, I can sort of play every instrument if you count that. But like, yeah, if you don't, then I guess like 6 or 7. So is it true that a FUT should be your first hair transplant surgery? For a lot of people with significant baldness, yes, it is true that you should start with FUT. For a lot of people, not everyone, but you can look up, I think it was Dr. Robert Shapiro, but look up basically maximizing donor hair through, I think it's Robert Shapiro. I need to look this up. Through surgeries. And basically they've proven that starting with FUT, you will maximize the donor hair. If you're Norwood 6, yes, I think you should probably start with FUT, unless you have some strange head that's like a really weird shape that like doesn't make sense for FUT. But in like probably 90% of cases, if you're Norwood 6, you should start with FUT if you really want to maximize your donor hair and the results that you're going to get over, a long-term process. I cannot play the theremin. I don't know what that is. Dante says, your FUE scars are not noticeable at all when buzzed. FUT, I'm not a fan of, but I understand it's better for some cases. Yeah, so people don't like FUT basically because of the scar, you know. I I can understand, I guess, but yeah, I guess for me, it doesn't seem like that big a deal unless like you're somebody who just really wants to shave your head close. Now, even this scar here, you can see the scar. This is the one from Dr. McGrath from the FUT surgery, right? It's right here, I think, is where the scar is. It's like around this area. It's the one that's higher up. So that scar right there is an FUT scar. Now, with my hair totally shaved, yes, it's totally visible, right? But one, I have no desire to like have this hairstyle long term. Once I grow my hair out to any length at all, especially because this is an area where the hair is very thick, that scar is not going to be visible at all. So this is the excuse that I don't like is people who are like, I don't want to get FUT because what if I have to shave my head down the line? Then I'm going to have this FUT scar. One, if you shave your head, you're going to have some scarring from FUE as well. So especially once you start like getting up into more than, like multiple surgeries, you start getting multiple surgeries of FUE, the scarring becomes more and more noticeable because there's just more surface area of scar. So the other thing is that I think if you're going to go for a hair transplant, you should really have your ducks in a row and decide that like, this is what I'm doing. Like this is the plan, and anyone who does it right really should never have to shave their head and be a bald guy once you've gone down that road. So it's sort of like, yeah, so I don't really get the point. Like, I'm never going to be I have to shave my head bald guy ever. Like, that's just not what I'm going to do. It's never going to have to happen for me. So yeah, the point of the FUT scar, I don't think is that difficult, it doesn't really matter, basically. And I think I could wear my hair pretty short because it's so high. Like usually, like if you do a fade or something, you do the fade like down here, right? Now, unfortunately, I have those FUT scars way down here, so I can't really do the fade as easily. But that's because the surgeon shouldn't have done that, So that's the problem. It's not the type of surgery, but the surgeon and what he did. I have 3 scar lines because of the 3 FUT surgeries I did. Crown says, do you think that 2.5 milligrams would be a good dose of oral minoxidil according to Dr. McGrath? Well, Dr. McGrath, the stuff that he prescribes is 5 milligrams. But that said, I bet 2 and 2.5 is probably more helpful. And I do know a good amount of guys just from my channel that take 2.5 milligrams of oral minoxidil and have found it helpful. So it probably would be, but maybe not as helpful as 5 milligrams. I think you would need to kind of try for yourself. I just took the pill that Dr. McGrath prescribed that I know he's been, prescribing to so many patients and their results have been really good. So I just like went with that. Do you ever have headaches from your FUT surgery? No, I've never had headaches from my FUT surgery. If it's done correctly, that's not something that should ever happen because you don't go deep enough in the tissue. If it's done correctly, if FUT surgery is done correctly. Actually, Dr. McGrath and I had a long conversation about FUT surgery and kind of it not being done correctly. And he's actually seen other surgeons like in person, watching them when he was studying, like not do it correctly. And he just kind of thinks it's craziness. And some surgeons just like cut way too deep. So it's difficult choosing a surgeon, Mr. Miller says. Yeah, it can be, especially if money is really tight for you, then I think that it can be difficult finding, and choosing the right surgeon. I think if money isn't that much of an issue for you, then I don't think it's that hard to find a top surgeon. But sort of like as you go cheaper and cheaper, I think your availability of excellent surgeons probably goes down. It doesn't mean that there are no excellent surgeons that aren't that expensive. That's what I'm saying. But obviously, as you spend more money, more people are available, you know what I mean? Because you have everyone from the people that are the most expensive to the people that are the cheapest. So, yeah. Ms. Miller says, money isn't the problem. It's just choosing the right surgeon. Cool. Should you take the finasteride, minoxidil, biotin pill from McGrath before getting a transplant? You would have to ask him, but I'm pretty positive that he would recommend that you would get on that pill, or if not that, then something similar to it before doing a hair transplant. Dr. McGrath, most people who go to have hair transplants with him, if they're not taking finasteride, if they have any kind of significant level of baldness and they're not like doing something like topical dutasteride or finasteride, or they have something that they're not doing something that's a great like preventative treatment, then he does not do surgery on them. So now if you're like, 45 years old and you just have, a little bit of recessed temples or something like that, then, yeah, then, that he might do that. But, yeah, he'd probably suggest that. All right, let me see here. Exosome. Is exosome injection painful? It's just, yeah, yeah, it's like, it's injections, So it's not like, I didn't find it super painful, but it's like getting shots, So yeah, it will be the feeling of getting a few shots. So, yeah, there will be a pain associated with it. How much is the average price for FUT? How much is the average price for FUT? I don't know exactly. I plan to go to the same guy you went to. Okay, cool. I guess, are you talking about Dr. McGrath, I guess? Because I would not go to the same guy that I went to the first time. But Dr. McGrath is great. Does FUE scars lose their white looking over time? No, I think scar tissue is going to kind of always be the same, Yeah, scar tissue is going to kind of just be scar tissue. Crown says, have you ever used topical minoxidil? And if yes, how is the oral minoxidil effectiveness different from the topical one? Yeah, I've used topical minoxidil a couple of different times. And from what I can tell personally, the oral minoxidil seems to be more effective. Yeah, so it seems to be. But that said, I think the main thing that I like about oral minoxidil is, sorry, I'm reading some of the questions. It's hard to answer and read at the same time. The main thing I like about oral minoxidil is the convenience of oral minoxidil, because having used topical minoxidil, for years at different points, it's just such a pain in the butt to like put on. You have to use it and like it's greasy, or it's greasy if it's like the regular stuff, or if you use the foam stuff, then it smells funny and kind of like cakes in your hair, and it's sort of harder to style your hair, and it just feels weird and it smells funny, and just, yeah, I hated using topical minoxidil. Fat KY says, how much did it cost you? Can you tell me what you're asking? How much did what cost me? Jake says, who was the first guy you went to? You don't name him. Yeah, I don't name him. How about this? This is what you can do if you want to find out who it is. I'm pretty sure that if you Google search hair transplant surgeon, mental illness, claims he's son of God, I'm pretty sure that it will come up. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Especially if you put loses medical license, or medical license in Tennessee, suspended hair transplant surgeon, claims he's son of God. I'm pretty sure that that the surgeon will come up. Hey David, when switching from topical minoxidil to oral minoxidil, did you experience any shedding? So, John, I didn't go from topical minoxidil to oral minoxidil. I was just, oh no, actually, take that back. Did I? Yeah, I did. Yeah, no, because I was using topical finasteride, and which also had topical minoxidil, and then I switched to the oral minoxidil, oral finasteride pill, that combo pill. Um, yeah, so I can't tell you about the shedding thing, and that's kind of why I'm making this video, is because shedding is not something you should worry about. So, did I experience any shedding? I might have. I might have experienced a ton of shedding. I honestly don't pay attention. Like when I, take a shower and I have tons of hair in my hands, which happens, I just go, okay, yeah, like I'm shedding hair. That doesn't mean I'm losing my hair. Like, so it's not something that I pay attention to. I try like to not, um, yeah, from Brentwood, Jake. I'm pretty sure Brentwood, but yeah, in Tennessee here in Nashville. So I try not to pay any attention to like hair showing up on my hands. So I might have experienced more shedding. I don't remember. Zach says, thanks for the suggestion. Could you make a video with Dr. McGrath on what would be the best way to switch from topical minoxidil to oral minoxidil without having a major shed? Okay, cool. That's a good question. I will talk to Dr. McGrath about that. Again, though, don't worry about shedding. It's not, yeah, it's, if you spend your time like worrying about shedding, it's just going to become an obstacle that's going to get in the way of you achieving what you want to with your hair. Because shedding is a natural part of just like being alive and having hair. All right, cool. We're going to do 2 more questions. And then Dante, do you think surgery heal spray was the reason you healed so quickly? I think it had a lot to do with it. I also got the exosome and the Zoflo injections during my surgery, so that could have helped with the healing. But yeah, this is the stuff. Sorry, I still got that salad in my throat. This is the Surgery Heal Pro. Yeah, because I was watching Rolandis' video about, he posted, I think it was just a few hours ago, about his itching. And I've really had very little itching, like almost none, to the point where like it hasn't bothered me at all. And so I was told that the Surgery Heal Pro also really helps with itching, and I've been using this ever since my surgery. So yeah, I think that this stuff has definitely been really helpful because I haven't really had any itching. I healed up super fast. So I think that was a part of it. And the Zoflo, Exaflow injections could have been part of it as well as far as the healing goes. But the itching for sure was the Surgery Heal Pro, I think. All right, 2 more questions. Let's do 3 more. If Norwood 6 wants his hair transplant to be as dense as the original hair, then how would his hairline look like? Gilbert, so your hair will never be as dense as your original hair. It never will be as dense. So I think that's what you said. Now, if you want it to look as dense or close to your original hair, that's probably possible. But it never will actually be as dense. You cannot recreate with surgery what nature naturally does at that level. So a hair transplant is an illusion of density. So, and it can be a really good illusion, to the point that you run a comb through it and not have any idea, but it's definitely still an illusion. Zach says, really great diet. Okay, thanks so much, Zach. I really appreciate that, man. Happy to help. All right, I think that's about it. Let's do last question. Rual, here's last question is, do you think that from talking to McGrath that there will be a cure for balding one day soon? It doesn't seem like that there's going to be a cure for balding soon. Yeah. There are things that are coming along on a pretty regular basis now that are helping. I know it's sort of baby steps, right? Like the Zoflow product. It's like topical finasteride. That didn't used to be a thing. You know, like topical dutasteride didn't used to be a thing that was available. Like oral minoxidil wasn't a thing that anyone was taking 5 years ago, you know? So I know there, like, you know, the Sergio Pro, this is something that just came available like in the last year or something. So definitely not a cure for hair loss at all. It doesn't grow hair or anything like that, but it still helps with this whole hair transplant, hair loss problem. So, you know, like FUE, like the tools for FUE that have come, you know, available. DHI wasn't a thing, I don't think, like 10 years ago. So all of these different tools are coming available that are making the process of us getting our hair back or keeping our hair easier than ever. But I don't think, yeah, there's going to be a cure anytime soon. Maybe in 10 years. I don't think in the next 5 years there will be any kind of cure that we have readily available for us for balding. But I think there will be some new tools, you know, that are helpful in the next 5 years. Okay, last question. Can you cut your hair with the short after transplant or the scar show? Yeah, they'll show. So here, you can see my FUT scars right here. Yeah, so the scars will show. So, but I don't know. I talked about that earlier. You can rewatch the beginning of this video if you want to hear my opinion on scars and all that. All right, thanks so much for watching, guys. It was great, great chatting with you all. Jake, I answered the how old are you question in one of my last videos, so you can hear my long answer about that. And yeah, and I will talk to you guys soon. So sending lots of love to all of you, and yeah, good luck. Thanks, John.